9 days from camp, 9 questions about the wide receiver position, perhaps the biggest area of concern for the Houston Texans. Let's get into it. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not 2.
Welcome to the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and on the Odyssey app. Appreciate you for coming through. We're 9 days away from training camp. Subscribe, like, ride along. It is the best resource you can have. Going to be on the field in 9 days when camp begins. Expect to talk to all the significant players straight off the field exclusively. Going to bring that to you. Also going to get some guys on the stream as well. If you're new to the channel, appreciate you for coming through. If you are not, appreciate you for coming through as well. Go ahead and get the comments in. How it works is we'll get to the ones that are topical and in the flow. And then at the end, we'll get to the ones that maybe I didn't get to or some good topics that come up. I posed the question earlier on social media, and I want to start with that portion of comments. What up, Tyler? Hernandez, how you doing? Captain Stu, how you living? Sean Brimhall, how you living? And John Crumpler talking about Nico Collins slander. None of that. Just Nico Collins reality. I think some of y'all are living in a fantasy world when it comes to Nico, but we'll get into that. But I like Nico. No hard feelings when it comes to him. But I posed the question on Twitter. What are your biggest reasons for optimism, pessimism, and overall thoughts about the Texans wide receivers heading into camp? And I got some interesting questions, interesting responses from the folks, from the people. And here are some of those. And I'll just share the screen, bring up the Twitter, and we will go through some of the comments on here. Tyler Milner of The Drive on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. Tyler Milner says that he's looking at the D'Amico Slowik effect for optimism, pessimism, experience lacking, and a rookie quarterback as well. At TXN Fan for Life says better scheme, better coaching, lots of unknown talent levels because of how poor coaching has been recently. Worst case scenario, Collins isn't a number 1 or even a number 2. Dell is too small and Mechie isn't ready. Damn, that's a lot of buzzkill. At least we will know for 2024. Michael Gartman says if everyone's healthy, it'll be wide receiver 1 Mechie, wide receiver 2 Collins, wide receiver 3 Woods, wide receiver 4 Tank Dell. But can still envision Dalton Schultz leading the team in receptions, reasons for optimism and pessimism outlined in screenshots. That's a lot of reading, my friend. If y'all want to check that out, go check out @_ Michael Gartman, who, by the way, might be related to John Crumpler. My man, hold on just a sec. Is that Crumpler's brother? You sure that ain't a before picture of John Crumpler before he went to medical school and got all pretty and got him a girlfriend? Tell me that ain't John Crumpler right there. That's got to at least be his cousin. That's got to at least be Crumpy's cousin. At Crown Oaks 44 says we are better this year, but we have a lot of young talent that needs to be coached up. This is true. I don't know about better. I don't know if anyone can match up with Brandon Cooks, although it will be interesting to see what Robert Woods has to say. We'll get into the 9 questions. Anthony B. at Black Shira, pessimistic, lack of speed on the boundaries, lack of wide receiver that can beat press man coverage, maybe one playmaker Optimistic about nothing. Overall, truly down on the wide receiver group and down on the front office for again going into the season with the worst wide receiver corps in the league. Okay. At Troy 2117, optimism, youth, unknown upside, decent depth, pessimism, lacking in top end talent, rookie QB throwing to them, first year OC coordinating them. Overall thoughts. Let's see how this plays out. You know what? That's a good layout right there, my friend. I'm going to follow this man, this young dude. Shout out to Raymond the Sycamore Tree, whoever the heck that is. JJHTX, we are in the locker room. Yes, we are. Jim Maxwell says, I got one nobody knows. They have no idea about any of these three young ones. Who do you double? Who do they want to go to? Who's the number one? That is for sure our advantage. Quick, short routes, short run game, and top 10 tight end dangerous. I like the optimism. I'm optimistic on offense about the QB who will unlock Nico Collins, 6'3", 445, 40 frame. Stroud loves placing the ball in the perfect location to throw the receivers open. D'Amico will do the same for Stingley and constantly put him in situation to succeed. The team will thrive. We have CJ, Mark May. He's high on Mechie. Texans fan, 100%. One name, Tank Dell. Texans Canada, optimism. Nico Collins being on pass or break season. Pessimism, the Hobbit size receiving core. Overall thoughts, the weakest group on offense, followed by tight ends. I agree, although I kind of like the tight ends. I kind of think the tight ends are underrated. But yeah, it definitely is on paper the weakest group on offense. I don't think too many people can debate that. Texans, more Canadian love. I truly believe Nico Collins will come into his own and become a real number one. If Mechie can stay healthy, he can be great, but no rush. And Tank will blow people's minds. Okay, there we go. So there's the comments on Twitter. Now let's get into the 9 questions, 9 days before camp. But first, let's get into the Madden ratings that came out today. They're interesting. I will say, and right on cue, my man Primetime says, how is Mechie higher rating than Nico? He ain't played a single down. That's a good question. I don't know what to tell you on that. Damn, the light's getting crazy, isn't it? Let's turn that off. At the moment, we're good. Right there. I would say, there we go. I would say that, man, we got it blinking now. Look at this. This thing is sick. I would say, I mean, I guess because Mechie was a second-round pick and the unknown surpasses the known. What we know about Nico Collins is he hasn't performed very well. He's had 170-yard game. So maybe the unknown just kind of overtakes the known. The ratings, Robert Woods is the 76th overall receiver. He's got a 77 overall. John Mechie ends up being a top 100 receiver with a 74 overall, which is the same rating for Noah Brown, which I thought was pretty generous for Noah Brown. And then you have Tank Dell coming in at 72, tied with Nico Collins, and Xavier Hutchinson getting no love with the 67. So those are the Madden ratings. You could tell CJ Stroud didn't like his rating, which I thought was really, really funny. Tyler Olsen, Landry, you want me to pass this because I'm high on this wide receiver core. By the end of the season, Brown will be an afterthought. Woods will be a great leader who doesn't play. Dell, Hutch, Mechie will lead the squad. So he's pretty high on the young guys. Forever Royal says people are sleeping on Amari Rodgers. Are they? I mean, I like Amari Rodgers okay. And I do think there's a chance that he's very productive. I don't know where he fits. But yeah, he's definitely not getting any love. And I do think Amari Rodgers, I do think there's a chance that Amari Rodgers ends up ends up making some plays in camp. Brown Chubby Bear says Xavier Hutchinson needs to be way higher than 67. How high, man? How high you want him to go? Really, how high? He also says he's optimistic about the run game and wide receiver rookies, the O-line, and if we can give him 3 seconds. There we go. Let's get into the questions. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. We're 9 days away from camp. 9 wide receiver questions. Let's start with number 1. How will Tank Dell be used? This is interesting. Tank Dell, he's the toast of the local media types. He's the toast of CJ Stroud. He's already got the same Madden rating as Nico Collins. Take that for what it's worth. But he's a unique prospect. You would think you need an offensive coordinator that's going to know how to put him in good situations. We know he's going to be returning punts. That's a given. Where is he going to be lining up? How often is he going to be lining up? Is he going to be able to make plays? And is he going to be able to withstand the punishment that's going to come in the NFL a little bit more than what he was used to in college? How is he going to be used? Is going to be interesting. How is he going to look? He's fascinating to watch. One of the smallest guys that you'll ever see. I would think slot. A lot of people saying slot. My thing is, I think Mechie's best in the slot. I think Noah Brown can play in the slot. I know you got multiple slots, so it's not like you're just putting one guy in there. Do we see him in motion? Do we see some gadget plays? Could we see situations where they put him in the backfield in passing situations? How creative are they going to be? And does Tank Dell look, as explosive at the NFL level as he did in college? Because the game speed, it's a lot faster than the 40 speed. And the 40 speed wasn't slow, but how does he look? How is he used? I think Tank Dell is one of the most intriguing prospects that this team has had in a long time. And I'm not saying he's like the best. We've obviously seen like prospects that we've been more excited about. There's a couple on this squad or guys that you have more expectations about, but just the unique body type, the fact that he was drafted in the 3rd round. So I don't think they just drafted him to be a special teamer. How's he going to be used? Is Bobby Slowik capable of using him the right way? I'm very, very intrigued to see Tank Dell. That's the number one. That's the number one question. 9 days away from camp, wide receiver question. Question number 2. Will John Mechie be ready to produce? We know that he's physically in good shape. And we know that it's just a blessing that John Mechie is even going to be at training camp. We know that, but is he going to produce? They drafted him pretty early, and they drafted him over some pretty intriguing prospects that play the same position. Sky Moore was a very good option in the slot. I think he's probably going to have a breakout year for Kansas City. They didn't take Pickens, who has wide receiver 1 upside. He ended up in Pittsburgh. What does John Mechie look like? We're talking about Tank Dell and what he can do. What can John Mechie do? He has right now, of all wide receivers, that's the highest investment that you've used on a wide receiver, as far as, draft position and a draft pick. So what is John Mechie going to look like? Is he going to produce? What is John Mechie going to do when he steps on the field? And what does that look like? It'll be interesting to see how Mechie looks. And I do, I'm kind of channeling my expectations for obvious reasons. So how will Tank Dell be used? Will John Mechie be ready to produce? Those are the first 2 of 9 questions about the wide receivers 9 days away from training camp. Number 3, is this the year for Nico Collins? Nico Collins. Is Nico Collins going to break out? I mean, I keep hearing, the quarterback play was awful, and, he hasn't had a good offensive coordinator, and that's fair to say. He's played for Tim Kelly and he's played for Pep Hamilton, and he's had really, really bad quarterback play. But there have been guys in this situation that have had certain amounts of success. Brandon Cooks had decent amount of success. Chris Moore had similar success. Is Nico Collins going to have a good year? We're having the exact same question about Nico Collins this year that we did last. Quarterback play should be better. System should be better. How does he fit in? Is he able to do some of the things that the coaches want? I think blocking is going to be a big ass part of this thing. I actually think Nico Collins is an underrated blocker. He doesn't really give up on plays. There's a couple of times where he's gotten downfield and done a good job blocking. But is this the year for Nico Collins? I'm just not as high on Nico Collins as a lot of people are. I think we're kind of expecting a little bit too much from Nico. Could he be a serviceable guy? Yes. But is Nico Collins going to have some sort of breakout? I'm skeptical about it, but we will see. This is going to be a put up or shut up year for Nico Collins. Question 4, what is Robert Woods at this point of his career? Last year, he played 17 games. Nobody else on the Texans wide receiver core played 17 games. So I keep hearing, about this injury, and I keep hearing, he came off a torn ACL, and maybe he's not the player that he once was. I think that's safe to say, but Robert Woods played 17 games last year, and Robert Woods produced at a level that would have been the second most productive receiver on the Texans team, and tied for the most productive receiver when it comes to receptions by a receiver not named Brandon Cooks in the last 3 years. So what is Robert Woods? Robert Woods is really interesting. Like, there's a real snowball effect to the path that Robert Woods has gone down. Robert Woods went from tearing his ACL with the Rams. They signed Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. plays his way into getting, I guess, $16 million from the Ravens, although it was a year later. And now Robert Woods is on the Texans. How much does he have left? I mean, has Robert Woods ever really been a, top end number one receiver? No. But what Robert Woods is he's a resource to the young guys. He knows the system. And I actually broke this down as soon as he got released. I thought he would be a good signing. We did a video about this, why Robert Woods would make sense. But I think that Robert Woods is going to be reliable. I think Robert Woods is going to be a good mentor to the guys. I think he's, intermediate routes. He can slip behind the coverage a little bit, and he's happy to be here. So what is Robert Woods at this point in his career? We will see. And there's always the possibility at that age that there's a huge decline, but the 17 games played last year, I think it's pretty significant, especially given the fact that some of these guys haven't been able to get on the field for different reasons. Number 5, what is Noah Brown's role? Noah Brown can block. Noah Brown can play special teams. Noah Brown is not a guy that's very explosive, but Noah Brown is a guy that's played in bigger games than most people on this team, not named Robert Woods. Noah Brown has been in playoff games. Noah Brown has been called upon when there's been injuries to play for a team that had division hopes. Not a consistent receiver. I don't even think he caught 50 balls at Ohio State. I don't even think he caught 40. Might not even caught 30. But he played his way into a role in the NFL. He took pride in being in blocking packages. He loves special teams. And this is probably the biggest opportunity he's gotten to make noise as a wide receiver, because this is going to be this is going to be definitely the worst wide receiver group that Noah Brown has ever been a part of. And I say that with a lot of respect, but I mean, let's be honest, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, and then CeeDee Lamb and Gallup last year, Noah Brown, kind of the outside looking in there. He could be in the inside looking out. I know Brooks Cabina and Jonathan Alexander projected him starting in the slot. I don't think that's ideal. I think the upside of like a Tank Dell and Mechie would be better, but I do think Noah Brown's going to be a guy that's reliable for this team in a lot of areas. And I think Noah Brown is a guy that teams naturally really, really like as a guy who's willing to do everything and willing to do a lot of dirty work. So I think the coaches are absolutely going to love Noah Brown. And I'm very intrigued to see what Noah Brown does. So how will Tank Dell be used was question one. Question two, will John Mechie be ready to produce? Question three, is this the year for Nico? Question four, what is Robert Woods at this point of his career? And question five, what is Noah Brown's role? Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Reminder, subscribe, like, right along. Season's about to get fun. Appreciate you for rolling through, whether you're new or whether you're a regular. Xavier Hutchinson, this is my guy. I love Xavier Hutchinson. I loved him at Iowa State. He was balling out against Texas before he had the drop. He was balling out in the Big 12 for a couple of years now. He sticks out. At minicamp, he stuck out. Even when they were doing just padless drills, blocking, all that, he sticks out. There's a lot of effort there. And I think they were fortunate to get Xavier Hutchinson where they did. Here's the other thing about Xavier Hutchinson. And I think this is really important when we're talking about expectations for Xavier Hutchinson. It shouldn't be as hard to play your way into playing on this squad as it would be somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like a few years ago, if Xavier Hutchinson had been drafted by the Texans, and let's say they still had Fuller, Hopkins, and all those other guys, a guy drafted in day 3 of the draft with, at questions about athleticism, you would say, man, he's fighting an uphill battle. And it's really going to be hard for this guy to play his way up. But when you're talking about Nico Collins, who can't stay healthy and has had limited production at best as a wide receiver, you're talking about Noah Brown, who, as much as I like Noah Brown is not, a top end type of receiver. And you're talking about guys like Tank Dell and John Mechie, who probably don't necessarily do what Xavier Hutchinson does or play the same style. He's actually in a pretty damn good position to make noise and make some plays on this squad. So you kind of have to take a step back when you're looking at a wide receiver corps that has the questions it does and has the uncertainty, and say, okay, what does Xavier Hutchinson exactly have to do in order to get playing time on this squad? And the answer is not as much as he would anywhere else. So I think that's important to keep in mind. And on top of that, I just think he's a really good wide receiver. I think he's kind of like a game time guy. I don't think that he is the type of guy that is going to be a workout freak. I think when you put the tape in, and John Harris did, and you like what you see. You like what you see from him. And I think he's going to have an opportunity to push Nico Collins. It's not like he's going against, DeAndre Hopkins or Will Fuller or Brandon Cooks or anything like that. I think that Xavier Hutchinson is going to be a very, very solid piece of this squad. And I think it's lined up better for him than it would normally be if he were in a different situation. So I actually like Xavier Hutchinson, and I can't wait to see what he looks like, because he stuck out the times I was out there at minicamp this year. Question 7, will other contributions in the pass game lower the pressure? I've seen some people touch on this, talking about Dalton Schultz and talking about the tight ends. Are we going to see guys coming out of the Devin Singletary, Dalton Schultz, Tegan Quintariano, the rest of the tight ends? Is their production going to lower the pressure on the wide receivers? You would hope that Dalton Schultz would be able to at least somewhat help lower that pressure. He's on a 1-year deal. He's trying to get paid, and he's been a very productive receiver the last few years. Tegan Quintariano, could he thrive in this system? Are they going to find ways to get the ball to Singletary? Are those guys going to lower the pressure on the wide receivers? And how are they going to work? We got a lot of Hutchinson love in here. A lot of people like Hutchinson and like the way that he plays. I think he's going to be a very, very good. I think he's going to be a good player. And I strongly recommend, if you're going out to camp or anything, keep an eye on old Xavier Hutchinson. Question number 8. Will there be a clear-cut number 1 wide receiver? I've asked this question. I've gotten 5 different answers, maybe 6, about who the leading wide receiver will be and who's going to be the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver. Is there going to be one? Is it going to be kind of a week-to-week thing? Are we going to see a situation where, 1 week it's Robert Woods, the next week it's Mechie, the next week it's Nico Collins, the next week it's Tank Dell? Not saying that's ideal, but I can't envision any of these guys, any of these wide receivers just completely separating themselves from the field to where you say, that's your number 1 receiver. I can't see it. Could there be? Who knows? A lot of people buying Nico Collins stock. I'm just not buying it. I think Nico Collins can fit into. I think Nico Collins can fit into the rotation, and he can fit into the production. I just don't think he's going to separate himself from all these guys. I don't think he's as talent. I don't think his talent is here and these guys are here. I think it's closer to like right here, back and forth. So I don't see any guys really separating themselves as the number 1 guy. T.O. says it's going to be Tank Dell. We'll see. I don't know about that. Brown Chubby Bear talking about Hutchinson. He's talking about his reach extension. I know he's not fast, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hutch plays 30% of his snaps at the X. Yeah, he's probably going to play a lot at the X. And he's got a hell of an opportunity to see how that goes. And maybe the ball is spread out, and there won't be a clear-cut guy, which might not be the worst thing for the squad in this situation. As long as guys are stepping up when they're called to do so. PTV, if Nico is not the answer for wide receiver 1, why didn't the Texans bring in a guy who can be there for the rookie QB? Because they made the package trade for CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. I mean, I think that would be the best way I can answer that. I think if they hadn't done that, then maybe at 12 and 33, you're thinking about that. They probably would have taken Jackson Smith and Jigba 12 if they had taken Anderson at 2 and then not taken CJ, or vice versa, which they wouldn't have done that. They were going to get Will Anderson no matter what. But I think they just decided, we can get our quarterback, and we can get our edge guy, and, maybe wide receiver will be something we focus on next year. Kind of like Trevor Lawrence with the Jags. Trevor Lawrence didn't really have weapons his first year. They went and got him a lot of weapons in year 2, and then they added Calvin Ridley in year 3. That seems like the route that they might go with CJ Stroud. There's just only so many assets that you can use, and that was just the way that they did it. I just don't see Nico as a 1. He's not. Like, I don't either. I think we're kidding ourselves if we think that's going to if we think that's going to happen. I just don't. I don't see that happening at all. Final question. The 9th question, 9 days away from Texans camp, and we'll get into some other stuff in here as well. What does wide receiver role in Slowik version of this offense look like? I mean, we've seen wide receivers be productive in this system, but a lot of times it's kind of top end guys, whether it's with the Rams, whether it's with the 49ers, whether it's with the Dolphins, whether it's with the Vikings, whether it's with the Bengals. Top end guys can produce. What is the wide receiver role in a Bobby Slowik offense? Does he value blocking more than a lot of guys? Does he value intermediate routes? Does he like to take deep shots? We don't know. And that's the other thing. Like when we're having these discussions, and that's what's so freaking exciting about the start of training camp is that we don't freaking know like about Bobby Slowik and what Bobby Slowik's going to do and how he's going to use his wide receivers. And is he going to be able to adjust to personnel, or is he going to be one of those guys that needs like a certain type of guy? We don't know. He might not know. He's never called plays before. So how does Bobby Slowik use these guys? This seems like kind of a situation where you're going to have to adjust and you're going to have to make do with what you got. I mean, they don't have someone. I think we've kind of established that. We've asked a lot of questions, but I think we've come to the conclusion for the most part that they don't have a number one guy. So there's not a situation where CJ Stroud more times than not is going to say, hey, I'm going to you no matter what. This is going to be a rhythm offense. I think I've heard Seth Payne say this. And this is going to be an offense where the ball is going to be spread around, we think. But at the end of the day, we don't know. And I think that's why DeAndre Hopkins wasn't going to be a good fit for this squad. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is a guy that necessarily I heard Seth breaking down, his precision. He's a good route runner, but it's not very precise. But we have no idea what Bobby Slowik's going to do. So those are the 9 questions. What does Bobby Slowik, what does the wide receiver role look like in his offense? Will there be a clear-cut number one? Will other contributions in the pass game lower the pressure, the tight ends, the running backs? What does Xavier Hutchinson look like? What is Noah Brown's role? What is Robert Woods at this point in his career? Is this the year for Nico Collins? No. Will John Mechie be ready to produce? And how will Tank Dell be used? Those are the questions, and we will see how this all goes. EB says Dell, Mechie, and Hutchinson will be our core guys moving forward, obviously. I don't know if you can say that for sure. I mean, maybe they can be productive guys, but I don't feel comfortable enough to say those 3 guys are core guys. You would hope so. They're your young guys, but we don't know a damn thing about them. I mean, it's not too far-fetched where, a 3rd round pick, a 2nd round pick, and a day 3 pick don't produce at all. So core guys, they might not have core guys. There's some question marks. There's definitely reason for intrigue, but I wouldn't say that, those are the core guys. I think that might be a little bit premature. Cebu, do you think our leading receiver this year is a wide receiver or other tight end or running back? We're talking receptions. I could easily see Dalton Schultz leading the team in receptions, although I'm kind of intrigued to see how CJ Stroud, connects with the tight end. I know he had Ruckert at Ohio State, but he really wasn't throwing to him too much. And let's be honest, when you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson, and other guys, you're not going to throw to the tight end too much. So I am intrigued to see, how much CJ will like the tight end. They say a tight end can be a young quarterback's best friend. And he's made some good throws to Ruckert. There's some good highlights of that, but how much does CJ feel comfortable throwing to the tight end? But if I were putting odds, I would say Woods and Schultz are near the top if we're just doing betting odds right now. Although if I were walking up to the sports book, because I'm still old school and I do like the app, but I like the feeling of going to Las Vegas and smacking that ticket on the table, getting that cold hard cash and that drink ticket. I would probably be betting on some of these other guys as like values. So that would be me though. Hey, Landry, our success will rely on the running game and defense. I'm not putting pressure on this wide receiver unit. That's fair, but they're still going to have to make plays. Look, if we were sitting here saying the wide receiver group had to be the strength of the team, I mean, that would be you would feel kind of helpless going into the season. But of course, yeah, the run game, you would like to see the run game work. I want to see the running back depth, how they balance that out, how they put together this committee that D'Amico Ryans speaks about. And yeah, the defense, you've invested a lot in the defense. You got a lot of upside on the defense, hell of a lot of upside on the defense, quite honestly. You got, Pro Bowl caliber upside in multiple spots. So yeah, I would agree with you. But the guys are going to have to make plays, and they're going to have to figure out, how they're going to spread the love and what these guys are going to do. Other comments. Hernandez asks, "Who do you think is our best receiver?" God, if I had to guess right now, if I had to bet who the best receiver is going to be, I don't think there's like an overwhelming right answer, but I would go with Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods is the most reliable. If I had to bet on someone to lead the team in receptions, I would go with Woods. I'm intrigued to see what Mechie looks like and what Dell looks like. But if I had to place a bet, I would just say Robert Woods, which is probably not the recipe for an excellent receiving core, but that would be my bet. You can call that kind of a gutless bet, but that would be my that would be my prediction. Chris Miller. Shout out to Chris Landry. You poached Cody Stutes from the wheelhouse so he can permanently co-host. Cody's doing his own thing, man. Cody Stutes, he left his radio show. He's gonna do his own thing. I don't poach Cody, although I'm very proud of him for going somewhere where he can control his own destiny. He is in control of a lot of the content on there, and it kind of gets jacked from him on multiple occasions where people are putting out stuff with him and making it benefit for themselves and not completely. I don't think there's like as much. He needs to be in control of the focus because covering the Texans and covering Houston sports is his top priority. It's not a side gig for him. So he needs to go do his thing. So I don't know what Stutes is going to do, but I wish him the best. And I look forward to seeing what he says because I think he is one of the best voices for Texans content. Murray McDougal. Hey, LL, just watching quarterback, seeing some big hits, and thankful we missed Bryce. Seeing number one wide receivers and big tight ends making huge plays to win games with our team. Will CJ be a Mahomes, Cousins, or Mariota? I think he's a Cousins. I think CJ is like in the Cousins tier. If I had to guess, I would say like the Cousins, Dak Prescott, that type of tier. Quality winning quarterback. I don't think he's a Mahomes. I actually think Bryce could end up being, right there on the fringe of that second tier. I was always a Bryce guy, but I could see CJ being Cousins, and I don't think anything's wrong with that. Most guys that are drafted in the first round don't end up being that good. Now, I don't think he's going to take Tuesdays off so he can walk with his wife and go to Pottery Barn and shit, but I do think he could be that caliber guy with probably a little bit more swagger and really a little bit more upside when it comes to athleticism and stuff. L3, I think D-Hop would have stunned the growth of this young wide receiver core. I agree. Laro says, Laro, whatever. Landry, you got to pull up to the tailgate. Man, I'm at every tailgate. We judge the tailgates presented by HEB. We get out there at 8:00 judging these tailgates every single week, leading up to the HEB tailgate. Like we're in those streets. We're in those Texan streets. So tell me where your tailgate is. I'll pull up. No questions asked. I'm out there. I'm on a cart. And we're judging those tailgates. So yeah, absolutely, man. Tell me where it is. I'll come through. Or if I've already been to your tailgate, I'll come through again. I think it's going to be popping this year. And if you're ever out there, get at us, man. it's going to be fun. It's probably going to be a little bit more active. Shout out to the Nuff Said, Freddie McLemore, Spin, Marty, Leslie, all you folks. Shout out to y'all. Nuff Said's the best tailgate there is. If you go there, be sure and drop them like 20. It's pretty much all you can drink. It's the best party that there is. Some of the best tailgating in the country. And they'll probably get you effed up with shots as well. What are expectations for joint practices against Miami? So I got an over-under. I'm glad you asked this, PT. So I got an over-under, and I want to get y'all's opinion on this. I want you to book your bet right here. So over-under August 21st. On August 21st, over is after, under is before. Do you think CJ Stroud will be named the starting quarterback before or after? The joint practice with the Miami Dolphins is on the 16th. On the 21st, there is going to be a kind of a gap between the Saints and the Dolphins, the final preseason game. I think August 20th is where I think that CJ Stroud gets named the starting quarterback. But I could see them naming him the starting quarterback before the joint practice, although they got another one after that. But you got to think that CJ Stroud is going to be named starting quarterback at some point. When over under August 21st. I'm really intrigued to see what y'all got. My prediction is August 20th. But I do wonder what a lot of y'all are saying. Some people saying after. We got some more befores. We got some after. We got another after. Before. Beast Mode says before. And then Bevo says before. But I think August 20th, right in that range, is a good time to have that. Oh, this is an interesting one. I like this. Ladie Reed, what would you have ranked each wide receiver in Madden? Damn. So, man, I would have given Nico Collins a 71. I would give Mechie a 72. I would give Tank Dell a 72 as well. Although the agility and the acceleration, you know how sometimes guys are ranked like they're ranked a certain thing, but their speed and agility make them more intriguing. I think the speed and agility would make Tank Dell more intriguing. I would give Robert Woods about 70, 75, 74. Just old faithful, old reliable, 17 games, probably 75. And I would give Xavier Hutchinson like a 69. He hasn't earned it yet. I think he could go out there and earn it, but I would give him probably a 69 with – really good ball skills. And then I don't know if I forgot anyone. That would be pretty much my rankings. So already clowning my Madden rankings. That's why I don't do the Madden rankings. But that would be what I would have. Expectations for joint practices in Miami. I expect CJ Stroud to play a lot, and I expect CJ Stroud to be tested. And I expect there to actually be really good communication. So the reason that I'm really excited about the Miami joint practices is because Mike McDaniel knows Slowik and he knows D'Amico Ryans, and they're all pretty tight. So there's going to be like really good communication with those guys to where they're probably going to say, hey, I want to see this. I want you to give him this look, or I want you to really, really challenge this guy. Like you go up to you tell Mike, hey, Nico Collins is not showing enough toughness here. I want you to rough his ass up and really, really get into him. So that's the reason that I'm really excited about these Miami practices, because a lot of times, and coaches do this no matter what before, practices, they'll talk about what they want to look at and stuff. And you're trying to kind of help each other out and you're trying to get the looks. But like, if you don't know, like if D'Amico Ryans doesn't know the other guy, it's cool, but it's kind of awkward. But given the fact that Mike McDaniel and Bobby Slowik and D'Amico Ryans worked together as long as they did, and they know each other that well, I think these are going to be really, really valuable practices for obvious reasons. First of all, it's going to be a good challenge because Miami's I think they're a pretty good football team, especially when healthy, but also those guys know each other. So that I think they're going to line it up to where the guys are kind of challenging each other. So that's what I'm really excited for in the Miami thing. I want to see how CJ looks. I think that's going to be the biggest test for him, even more so than the preseason games. But that's why I'm as excited for it, is because those guys know each other. TK, when CJ Stroud will sign a rookie contract, what happened? Why Texans don't sign contract with him? No one's really signed their rookie contract. No quarterbacks have. Is where it's at. Eastside Herald says nothing impressive is what you're saying about the wide receivers. Sure. Yeah. And I think we've established that. I mean, it's going to be one of those things where on paper, not going to get a lot of hype, reason for skepticism. The unknown can lead to optimism. And we don't know about Bobby Slowik, who's the main thing. Blue Boy says out of 10K Madden players in the world, I'm ranked 31st. Look me up. Man, you are lying your ass off, man. Prove that. I want to see that. You're probably one of those, man, Blue. Don't tell me you're one of these weasels. I went off on this today. What is this stupid ass ultimate team thing that you kids are playing these days on Madden? This is why Madden sucks now. You're playing this ultimate team, trade cards. I'm watching Madden highlights. I'm watching like one of those like ESPN Madden shows, and I'm seeing Derrick Henry and freaking running backs throwing passes. And then I'm seeing freaking Kellen Winslow Sr. making plays. Like, what are we doing? That's NFL Street back in my day. You guys are playing this ultimate team thing. The hell are we doing here? What is going on? I want to see this Blue Boy thing. I'm not buying that for a damn. You're probably an ultimate team player. My man. Duke says his style is like Mahomes to the arm is like my Mahomes, so he just got that aggressive, accurate arm, brings the boy bad. I called him the snip. I don't know what that means. Who knows? Sean asking about Cal's image. Cal's always been this way. I just don't think he's been in position to where he can be as vocal as he'd like. And I also think he made mistakes. I think he trusted the wrong guys and probably didn't step in as much as he should have. I think the transition to him and Hannah, I don't think it was something that could have possibly happened a couple of years ago. I think the Easterby factor was there. Easterby got his foot in the door. O'Brien wanted him, and then Easterby, I mean, he can BS you. And quite honestly, when Deshaun Watson is here, he was kind of the lipstick on the pig that was a lot of things that were going on with the Texans organization. And I actually think Deshaun kind of deserves a little bit of credit for before all the freaky shit happened. I think he deserves a lot of credit for, wanting to get out of town and not put up with that crap and not be the lipstick on the pig that was the POS Jack Easterby. And I think that kind of made them kind of realize, oh, damn, this guy can, be one of the main reasons why our franchise quarterback wants to leave. And, I'm business people, players, coaches, PR, all that. They knew that Jack was a fraud, and eventually the right people realized it. So there you go. Cebu is right. These kids ruin Madden. It's pathetic playing like ultimate team and stuff, man. It's just a damn shame. These kids, man, damn shame. Made me stop playing too. We should start a real roster league. Got to do something, man. It's embarrassing. These kids are putting some of these cats are excited to put Damian Pierce at freaking quarterback in Madden. Remember back in the day when they had that damn that light thing where you had to look when you threw? That sucked. That was a little much, but I mean, you can't be putting they're putting like Nick Chubb in at quarterback and he's throwing like 75-yard posts. Kids ruining it, man. And now they're trading cards on there. What are we doing? We're trading cards on Madden. What are we doing? It's just awful. Yeah, and Blue Boy's still saying he's at 35. Yeah, so tell me about abilities in Madden. What is that? What is abilities? I don't even want to know. NFL Blitz is more realistic than Madden now. Isn't it a damn shame? John Madden's got to be rolling over in his grave. Seriously, like that was one of the things that John Madden wanted. John Madden wanted this being realistic, and then as soon as he dies, we're putting freaking running backs at quarterback. There are some dirty bastards for doing stuff like that. What is abilities? That's what I really want to know. I want to know what this Madden is. This abilities. I don't even want it. No, I don't want to know. I don't even want to know. The DeAndre Hopkins reaction the day after. I think this has been really, really interesting. Brown Chubby Bear asking, when did I get off my lawn about Madden? As soon as he started putting running backs at quarterback. That's not get off my lawn. That's quit being unrealistic. That's pathetic. That's ridiculous that's even a thing. That's terrible that's a thing. So Tyler says that superstar abilities I'm getting backtracked, allow players to have intangible traits like auto beat on a correctly. Oh my God. Jeez. Nuke Hopkins, Tennessee, day after field reaction. I'm going to move on from that quickly. I think this is good for Tennessee. I think it's good for the Texans. I don't fear DeAndre Hopkins. I haven't seen Tennessee's win total change at all with DeAndre Hopkins going there. Good for them for getting him. He knows the system. It's an established culture. He doesn't have to practice there. And, Ryan Tannehill can force it to him. And Ryan Tannehill, when he would just zero in on A.J. Brown, that worked out. Now, DeAndre Hopkins at this point in his career, he's not A.J. Brown, but he's a guy who can move the chains, and he's a guy that, hopefully he's going to be on his best behavior. He's never really been a diva, but this has to have been like somewhat of a humbling process for him, probably a little bit frustrating. And now he's in a situation that if you believe what he said when he initially said it, this is not the situation that he wanted. So we'll see how it goes. He's got a strong coach in Mike Vrabel who's not going to put up with too much crap. I will say, though, if Ryan Tannehill gets hurt and DeAndre Hopkins has to play with Will Levis, that's probably going to be one of the most frustrating times of his career. And we're talking about a guy who went a whole season with Brock Osweiler and was involved in some really, really bad quarterback play before he ended up making magic with Deshaun Watson and then going and doing what he did with Arizona. So I guess hopefully for the sake of Nuke, he doesn't have to play with Will Levis. But if you're a Texans fan and if you're in here, the chances are you are a Texans fan or you're someone trying to check in on the pulse of the Texans, I would say you probably would not be too hurt by DeAndre Hopkins potentially having to play with Will Levis. But this was a money thing for DeAndre Hopkins. This was the best offer that he got. Is probably quite honestly, I'm surprised that he got what he did. And with the incentives, I think he can earn $32 million in 2 years. I think DeAndre is on the decline. I think the league thinks that DeAndre is on the decline. And we'll see what happens with Nuke. Who tried to flex on someone online about saying that Andre Johnson going to Tennessee wasn't fun to watch, and we've seen this movie before. He deleted the tweet because it was one of those. The worst thing online is the misfired, the same people that tweets. The same people that say this, and there's never a tangible example. It's always made up. The same people that say that, they don't like this are the same people who say this. That's what Nuke Hopkins did. He basically went out there and tried to do one of those same people that things, and it backfired. He felt dumb, and he took down the tweet. And I don't blame him for being frustrated. This is not what he signed up for. This is not what he wanted. God, man. Um, just it's the one thing that is crazy about Houston is these guys leave here and they never get the success that you kind of want them to get when they leave here. Um, when JJ left, he went to Arizona, really kind of meh, kind of under the radar, not great. Andre went to the Colts, meh. Went to the Titans, meh, not great. Nuke goes to the Arizona, has like the brief little splash with Kyler Murray, and then meh. So it kind of sucks that DeAndre Hopkins is kind of the latest one, and I think that was the guy's point. He follows me. I forget his name, but I mean, I think that was his point, and I made the same point on here a month ago when DeAndre was there. I don't know why exactly that kind of triggered him, but good for him for deleting it because it was just kind of blah. I don't count Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu was only here for 1 year. He did go to Kansas City. He was able to tag along with their success, but I don't look at Tyrann like that. Kareem Jackson, J. Joe, like when Texans legends leave here, they just don't. They never like right out. You never have like your right off to the sunset type of thing. It just doesn't go as well. So there is that. Justin Reed, I don't really consider Justin Reed like in that category. I like Justin. I'm happy for Justin. Okay, 11 Bravo bringing up Jacoby Jones. You want to throw Jacoby Jones in that mix? Okay. I don't. I love Jacoby though. God, people hated him when he was here. And don't lie and say you didn't. Y'all are frustrated with Jacoby. Yeah, Dwayne didn't really. I mean, he had some good seasons in Seattle, but never really went out there and did his thing. DJ Reader, yes, DJ Reader. That's one of the ones that got away. God, they gave Whitney Merciless that extension, and they started giving out that weird money instead of keeping DJ Reader. And ever since then, it seems like they've just had soft ass run defense. That one really, really sucked. But we'll see what happens with Nuke. Best of luck to him. I understand the frustration. It's got to be frustrating to kind of be a little bit humbled. And we know Nuke is kind of a prideful guy who takes a lot of pride in doing his thing. Always enjoyed watching Nuke, covering Nuke, talking to Nuke at the podium. But at this point, and I really didn't like the way he kind of tried to get people to carry his water by telling him he was interested in the Texans when he knew damn well he wasn't going to play here and all the pictures and stuff. I thought that was pretty goofy, but who knows? See, props to Tyler. He can never forgive Jacoby Jones. People just got frustrated with Jacoby. Jacoby was hilarious, though. I thought Jacoby was the man. I actually thought he probably could have been the Super Bowl MVP when Baltimore won it. That return was huge. I love me some Jacoby Jones, but who knows? I was going to get into the state of the running back position. I just think that it makes sense from both point of views, but it's frustrating as hell. I actually think it adds to why it makes sense to draft running backs higher up in the draft if you're going to get them for a few years and get elite ball out of them. Most first round picks don't get second contracts. So if you can get, 3 elite years, I think it's worth it. Now, do you pay them after? That's a debate all in itself, but that's just kind of the effed up state of the running back position. I do think it's a good discussion. I think football fans, the difference between football fans and baseball fans is hilarious. Football fans can actually like the extreme football fans, it's an argument over, what you should do. Baseball fans, like hardo baseball fans, I got my taste of that when I talked about Kyle Tucker. They act like you don't understand how arbitration works. It's pretty cut and dry. Like, I feel bad for Kyle Tucker that he's only making $5 million this year. I feel bad for Saquon that he might only make $10 million. But for some reason, these old fossil try hard baseball. Not all of them, but some of them. They think they're like they state the obvious, but they act like it's like something deep, and it's strange. But the state of the running back position is kind of effed up. I don't know what you do about it. I don't know if you can give the position preferential treatment, but it's just too wild. But who knows? It is 9 days away from training camp. This is the locker room. No matter what happens with the Texans, appreciate everyone for coming through when it comes to this Texans stuff. By the way, don't forget to subscribe and like. But when it comes to this Texans stuff, we're all in this together. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Talk to you tomorrow.
Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop.